Hello friends, my name is Suraj, Assistant Professor GSIT. So I'll be handling mechanics of metals for you in mechanical department. So mechanics of metal is one of the subject for third sem, or present third sem. The subject course code 18ME32. So so we'll discuss about what we're going to learn in this subject. That means the course outcomes or course objectives. So course objectives is to know different types of stresses, strains developed in the member subject to loading, different loading like axial, bending, shear, torsion, and thermal loads, and also to know the behavior and properties of engineering materials. Next, to understand the stresses developed in bars, compounds, beams, shafts, cylinders. To understand the concepts of calculation of shear force, bending moment of beams with different supports, to expose the students to the concept of buckling and strain energy. So here we have 5 modules. So module 1 deals with stresses and strains. So it deals with the introduction part. There are properties of materials, stresses, strains, Hooke's laws, and stress strain diagrams. So basic things we will learn in this module. So it also deals with calculation of stresses in some simple sections, composite sections, and temperature stresses, lateral linear strain, Poisson's ratio, elastic constants. We'll all learn in this module. So module 1 deals with stresses and strains. Module 2 deals with analysis of stresses and strains and cylinders. There are 2 topics here: analysis, stress and strains, and cylinders. So introduction. So analysis of the stress system in 3-dimensional state is stress is induced in 3 dimensions, and the stresses on inclined planes, principal stresses, maximum shear stresses. All this we'll learn in this module, in this part of this module. Also, we'll learn cylinders, another topic in module 2, cylinders. That is, we'll especially thin and thick cylinders. So Hooke's stress, maximum shear stress, circumferential longitudinal stress, Lami's equation. So everything we will discuss in the cylinders. The stress is developed in cylinders for external or internal pressure. So this was about the module 2. Now module 3 is shear force and bending moment. There are 2 topics here: shear force and bending moment, and stresses in beams. So first topic, shear force and bending moment, deals with the beams. So we'll study the types of beams here. What are the loads? What are the reaction relationship between loads and bending forces and shear forces. And we'll draw the shear force diagram. So where the load is more applied, or we'll draw the bending moment diagrams and other things. So there are different load. Also there are uh, uniform distributed load, there is point load, varying loads, how they affect on beams we'll study in this module. Also stresses in beams. So for each beam, what are the so when the load is applied on the beam, so beam goes through very different stress systems. So this stress, that is the shear stress, bending stress, so we will discuss in this stresses in beams topic. So we will discuss shear force and bending moment and stresses in beams in this module 3. Module 4 deals with theories of failure, torsion. So how a material fails under different in the different loading conditions. So this will discuss about different principal stress theories and maximum shear stress theory. And torsion, um, Torsion, how was in torsion we will study about how the materials are subject to torsion or turning and twisting movement, and how they at what stress is developed, and how they break, and power transmissions and shafts. So in this model, so model 4 deals with theories of failure and torsion, and model 5 we have the columns and strain energy. So columns, about how the buckling and stability of columns, critical loads. So we'll study about the columns and its failure. Strain energy, also the strain induced study in this module, that is module 5. So after all this, you should course outcomes means at the end of the module, at the end of the subject, you should know to understand simple and compound stresses. You should understand the relationship between simple compound stresses and strain energy. Analyze structural members for stresses, strains, and deformations. Analyze structural members subject to loading and shear loads, bending and shear loads. Analyze shaft subject to twisting loads, columns, etc. So question paper will be of 10 full marks question. Each full question will have 20 marks. There will be two full questions with maximum four more sub questions for each modules. There are so the books to refer. So we have Strength of Materials by S.S. Ratan, a very standard book. Strength of Materials by R.K. Rajput. And there's one more which is not mentioned in this. We have Strength Mechanics of Materials by J.P.K. Das, a very commonly used textbook. So now we will have some introduction. Since the subject is about mechanics of materials, first will have some introduction of materials. So materials, so there are already over 70,000 different types of kinds of grades of engineering materials, and this it keep on increasing with the research. And about 1,000 different materials make up an automobile. So this basically there are three types of materials. One is metals, second is polymers or composites, third is ceramics. So in metals there are cast iron, steel, mild steel, medium carbon steel, high carbon steel, specialty steel, stainless steel, galvanized steel, alloys. More two or more pure metals form alloys, as we know that. So steel is a alloy of iron, carbon, brass of copper and zinc, bronze of copper and tin. So polymers. So polymers may be natural or synthetic. So natural polymers are nothing but the leather which we use in our day-to-day life is called as natural polymer. Synthetics means the plastics which are molded in molds, thermoplastic or thermoset plastics are called as synthetic polymers. So natural composites. So composites which are formed naturally, like the wood, that may be hardwood or softwood, are called the natural composites. So some of the engineering materials. So in this subject, it's a very important subject in mechanical engineering, and this is one of the basic subject to our whole of mechanical engineering field. So it deals with the study of different materials and their loading condition, how they perform under different loading conditions, and what are its characteristics. So this is all these things we will study under mechanics of materials. So it's one of the basic subject. So one by one we will take out module 1. So we will finish off all 5 modules. So with the time constraint, We may not complete all the 10 topics. Each module has two topics, or at least we'll cover up at least one topic of all five modules. So yeah, in module 1 we will look up for stress and strains and their simple calculations. Module 2 we will go with cylinders. Module 3 we will learn about stresses in beams. For timing, with the time constraint, we will learn about stresses in beams. Module 4 we will learn about torsion. Module 5 we will learn about the columns. So once again, textbook to refer J.B. Das. So Mechanics of Metals by J.B. Das is a will use a standard book referred by VTO book. So we'll just refer this textbook Mechanics of Metals by J.B. Das. So refer this book. So once again, so there are 70,000 different types, 70,000 different kinds, grades of materials, and it keeps on increasing with the new research and technology. And there are different material used for just for one automobile. So three basic metals are metals, polymers, ceramics, cast iron, steel are type of metals. Alloys, polymers are natural and synthetic. Thermoplastics, thermosets, natural composites are nothing but the wood, maybe soft or hard. So